Hey there, IceCaps fans. Welcome back to this week's edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap. I'm Amy Johnson reporting for the AHL Report, and we've got a bit of a different backdrop for the Weekly Wrap this week. As you can see behind me, they're clearing the ice right here in the PPL Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, as they prep for the AHL All-Star Classic 3-on-3 tournament this evening. And we're here covering Charlie Lindgren and Chris Terry for that event. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But first, we want to talk about last week's IceCaps action. There were two games that the IceCaps played last week. Both of them were against the Toronto Marlies. And the weekend, needless to say, before the All-Star break, didn't quite go as the IceCaps would have liked. They dropped both of their home games against the Toronto Marlies. These were the last two home games of their 8-game homestand. Friday night, against the Marlies, they lost this one 5-3. Bobby Farnham, Veilleux, and Ryan Johnston were all of the ones who scored in this game, but overall it was disorganized. The specialty teams were not very coordinated whatsoever. They took too many penalties. They're not generating on the power play, and the Marlies took advantage of all of that and did down them 5-3 in that one. And then they turned around the following day on Saturday for a very early afternoon matinee, 2 o'clock start Newfoundland time. It was very early in the day, and they did not bounce back well from the previous night. In fact, they dropped this one 4-0 to the Marlies. They were completely shut out. Jan Denis was in net. However, we can't necessarily fault Jan Denis on this one. Overall, the team just looked very disorganized. Coach Lefebvre didn't have great things to say after the game. He liked certain aspects of the game, but agreed and admitted that there were things that needed to be worked on as they head into this next road trip that's coming up. So looking back at transactions for last week, I did mention that Ryan Johnston scored one of those goals on Friday night. He was sent down, reassigned to the St. John's IceCaps from the Montreal Canadiens last week, and that was the only transaction that did take place. So during the course of that time between then and now, it is the AHL All-Star break. Charlie Lindgren and Chris Terry are here in Allentown representing the IceCaps. Chris Terry was a last-minute addition, literally last minute, the night before the All-Star weekend was to begin, and they did a great job last night at the skills competition, and they'll be looking forward to the 3-on-3 tournament this evening. Looking past that, however, the IceCaps do go back on the road this week, and this particular road trip coming up is going to be one that's crucial for the IceCaps in terms of the standings and as far as their opponents go. They're facing three really big opponents this week in the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, the Hershey Bears, and then next week they'll be facing the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, all teams that are in the top of the conference and battling for positioning for the playoffs. So Friday night, the IceCaps will head to Wilkes-Barre to take on the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. That's at 7:05 Eastern, 8:35 p.m. Newfoundland time. Then on Saturday, they head to Hershey, where they'll take on the Bears at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 8:30 p.m. Newfoundland time, and then again on Sunday, they're back in Hershey for an afternoon matinee at 2 p.m. Eastern time, 3:30 p.m. Newfoundland time. So you'll want to be sure you're following along with us and check out everything, all of our exclusive coverage from the All-Star Game and things of that nature. Follow us on Twitter at the AHL Report. On Instagram, you can find us at AHL Report. And, of course, head over to our website, ahl.report online, where you'll find all of our exclusive interviews with Lindgren and Terry at the All-Star Game, as well as a ton of exclusive photographs, game photos, post-game interviews, game recaps, and so much more. You don't want to miss a minute of the action. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Amy Johnson. We'll see you back here right again next week for another edition of the IceCaps Weekly Wrap.